and welcome. This is our special edition, and today we discuss Ethiopia's economic influence in the Horn of Africa. And there are also challenges, not only opportunities. And here with me is Dr. Gutu Teso, economist, a well-known economist. Stay tuned. Doctor, welcome to our program. This is a special edition program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Briefly tell us about yourself.
Obviously, like you said, I'm an economist by profession. Currently, I am a senior advisor and a consultant to the European Union under a project in Ethiopia. I also support some of the banks in Ethiopia, and also I provide advisory services to government institutions.
You're also very responsive whenever media wants you. And how do you make that your schedule? You are busy and you are volunteer.
The only way you can make an impact, the only way or probably the most important way you can share your knowledge, skills, experience is through media.
Sure.
Having media access has to be considered as an opportunity. So even if I am busy, whatever I can make as a contribution, I always try to make myself readily available whenever there are professional inquiries coming from the medias.
Thank you very much. And how do you see Ethiopia's geographical position in influencing the Horn of Africa?
Ethiopia is geographically well positioned compared to many African countries and to many other compared to many other countries in the world. Ethiopia is being located in the East Africa, especially in the Horn of Africa, gives a lot of opportunities and positions to have an influence. And some of those include, for example, Ethiopia is bordered by almost 6 countries. And the border distance is thousands of kilometers. That means you have a huge actions and interactions and a relationship with the neighboring countries to receive and to give. That is one. Secondly, with the neighboring countries, Ethiopia share religion, language, livelihood types, natural resources, and a lot of things they share. So there is a lot Ethiopia to offer to the countries in the Horn of Africa. For example, if you go to in the southern part, Oromo lives in Ethiopia, Oromo lives in Kenya.
Sure.
People in Gambela lives in Ethiopia, they live in South Sudan. People if you take in Benishangul, if you take in Tigray, if you take in Afar, there are people that lives on both sides of the country. So Ethiopia really shares language, religion, resources, and cultures that makes, and that will help you to have an influence, to have the volume of your actions and interactions are big. Another important thing is Ethiopia in the Horn of Africa is often said as the roof of Africa. If you've seen, Ethiopia gives water to almost all neighboring countries. All the way from the central part of Ethiopia, you give water, you give soil, and then you give all other natural resources. That means you have a direct influence, you have a direct contribution to the lives and the livelihoods of countries in the neighborhood. Then very recently, Ethiopia has become the power hub of the Eastern Africa. We give power to a number of East African countries or countries in the Horn of Africa. That means you have a huge opportunity to support the economy, the politics, and the social well-beings of countries in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia being located at equidistance between the Eastern and the Western world, the Northern and the Southern world in the globe, itself attracts a lot of interest. And that would, in other words, will have something to bring to the countries that are in our neighborhood. African Union being here, Ethiopia being the supporter of many African countries during the fight against colonialism, Ethiopia being at the founder of the League of Nations, there is a lot Ethiopia is positioned to support, to help, to bring together countries in the Horn of Africa. And that has politics, economy, and all other factors. And Ethiopia is really an opportunistic country. Ethiopia is really a very chanceful country in terms of the geopolitical location as we see it now.
And do you think this will help economic diplomacy to strengthen Ethiopia's position, further strengthen what it has today?
Exactly. This position and this opportunity has a lot in terms of bringing significant economic influence and economic relation. For example, people in the other side of southern Ethiopia, if you take on the side of Somalia and the side of Kenya, during crisis, during droughts, during even the current the backflow of Turkana River in the southern part of Ethiopia, people cross over to Ethiopia to survive, to go through moments of life defining. So Ethiopia has a lot in terms of influencing the livelihoods, the livestock, the agriculture, and so on. The other is in terms of trade relationship. If you go to Asosa, Begi, even Gambela, if you go to Moyale, and even in the eastern front, bordering with our Somali region, there is a lot of economic actions, interactions, and relationship that is going on. And the trades are in billions of Ethiopian birr. So that is really impacting significant economic influences, economic relationship on both sides. Ethiopia also benefits. Ethiopia also give. And if you look at the current power supply we're making, we are carrying the industries in Kenya. We are supporting the industrial growth in Djibouti.
You mean that we are generating from Grand Ethiopian Renaissance
Exactly. From the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and also from other sources, we've been supplying power to this country. That is a significant economic relationship. We are basically providing a clean energy. That has a lot to tell stories to the world in terms of moving industrial transition through clean energy. Clean energy that is accessible, affordable, and sustainable. So Ethiopia's geographic position in the Horn of Africa is really making a great influence and supporting the neighboring and benefiting also the neighboring countries.
And what can you say about Ethiopia's recent initiatives, economic initiatives, and in sustaining or in bringing sustainable development in the country and even beyond?
Since very recent years, Ethiopia is really taking up several initiatives. And one of the initiatives is regional power connections, regional energy connection. That initiative is really, it's going to serve as a mortar of unity, as a mortar of economic relationship between several countries. That's one. The other is initiative Ethiopia has taken up for so long is inland connectivity. Ethiopia has done a great effort to connect Ethiopia and Kenya, Ethiopia and Djibouti, Ethiopia and Sudan, than the neighboring countries have done. So that initiative has really made trade flows, even crossing into Kenya with land transport to be a reality. So Ethiopia's initiative of connectivity through land transport is really bringing a lot of strong economic bonds. Another initiative is Ethiopia's aspiration to move into an industry and through the establishment of several industrial parks. The products of many of our industrial parks are now being sent to the neighboring countries. Very affordable and on a sustainable basis. These neighboring countries used to import some of the items all the way from China and Far East. But this industrial parks growth and expansion is making a significant economic benefit to the neighboring countries. It's also worth mentioning of the green legacy. Whether it has achieved the maximum level of benefits or not, but as a beginning, Ethiopia has crossed over to the other side of our neighbors in terms of supporting regreening, restoration of the degraded ecologies. So these initiatives are really bringing significant improvement. Now, Ethiopia's initiative of integration, what do you call it, a trade integration with the neighboring countries, is another important bilateral relationship with Kenya, bilateral relationship with South Sudan and Sudan. So many investors are coming, and so many Ethiopian investors are crossing over to those neighboring countries. That initiative is really bringing significant. Very recently, Ethiopia has begun two most important initiatives that I would say is going to play a pivotal role in terms of regional economic integration. The first is the fertilizer plants. You know, all our neighboring countries import fertilizer all the way from Asia, from Ukraine, and in other countries in that region. Now that Ethiopia is determined to have a big fertilizer, would mean supply of commercial fertilizer at unaffordable prices to the Horn of Africa. That's going to bring a huge economic integration, a huge economic interdependency between the Horn of Africa. The other most important that is inaugurated very recently is Ethiopia's natural gas production. If that expands, if that goes into the production of not only natural gases but other fuels, it would mean a relief to Djibouti, to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, even up to Burundi, Tanzania, Sudan, South Sudan, Eritrea, Somalia. So that initiative are really very critical of Ethiopia's effort in terms of ensuring a proper and a meaningful trade integration and relationship is going to happen.
As an economist who researched on Ethiopian economy for a long period of time, what do you say about Ethiopia's economic approach, and what do you advise?
Ethiopia's approach in terms of economy in the region is always clear. Even not only during the current regime, but during the previous regime as well, Ethiopia had a very clear path of ensuring a strong economic polar is created in the region. One is a strong economic integration. The very essence of IGAD and countries in the IGAD member countries to trade to each other and then to trade collectively. What does that mean? We bilaterally have a trade relationship with Djibouti, with Somalia, with others. At the same time, within the IGAD region, we will have a collective economic power that will enable us to be competitive with countries in Asia, countries in Europe. That formal, legal, and regional institution-based approach has always been there, and that is one of an instrumental. The other is Ethiopia is trying to bring BRICS into the region. Ethiopia being a member of BRICS is a plus because it does not benefit Ethiopia alone. It benefits countries in the region. If BRIC member countries are ready and willing to come and invest in Ethiopia, their investment will definitely be expanded into the neighboring countries in terms of trade, in terms of input supply chain, in terms of labor, in terms of financial transaction. That by itself is going to be like an economic venture that does not only help Ethiopia but also the other neighboring countries or the other countries in the Horn. COMESA, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. Ethiopia was keen. Ethiopia was really pushing than any other countries to make a robust regional trade relationship. That's how many investors are coming from Kenya also to Ethiopia. Many investors from Sudan has come. Many investors from Djibouti has come. In the same way, there are at least a number of investors that have gone out of Ethiopia into Djibouti, Kenya, and South Sudan as we speak now. That approach is really helping Ethiopia to really do a meaningful in terms of economic ties and then the consolidating. Another important is Ethiopia had a master plan of connecting the region through railways and through also road transport systems. And Ethiopia has done a great deal. There is a lot going as we speak now. That itself is really a strong approach in terms of infrastructure connectivity. Connectivity in terms of railway, connectivity in terms of road transport, connectivity in terms of power, and very recently connectivity in terms of information technology. All this approach is to mean Ethiopia to bring countries in the Horn of Africa into a common economic space, into a common playground, into a common market where we all mutually benefit depending on our comparative advantage.
Dear viewers, whom you are watching is Dr. Guto Teso making an analysis, and this is OBN Horn of Africa, and you can also access this program on YouTube and other channels. We will continue and stay with us. As we continue, Doctor, the other one is the corridor development, which is infrastructure. Ethiopia has been underwaying with Kenya, you can say, with the South Sudan, the Lamu port you can mention. And what does the meaning of these interconnections?
Ethiopia is trying to build a strong trade corridor with multimodal systems, with a huge logistics infrastructures. Ethiopia, from Addis Ababa all the way to Mombasa, from Addis Ababa all the way to Djibouti, from Addis Ababa all the way to Khartoum, all the way to Juba, all the way to Asmara. Ethiopia has been doing an infrastructure development to enhance a strong trade corridor that would help for the imports and exports and also creation of markets along the corridor. That is really now yielding a good fruit. If you see, if you simply move from here, Addis Ababa, all the way to Mombasa, there is a strong trade point, investment point, market pools that is being created, and then innovative trade systems are emerging. The same is true all the way to Djibouti. Djibouti is one of our big door to the external world in terms of import and export lines. We have several trade items. We have several commercial businesses that are coming along the way until you reach Djibouti port of destination for export and also for import. That is really reviving some of the trades, the businesses, and then it's also attracting potential investors from all around the world. The same has been there in the Western Front to go to Sudan and the South Sudan. There is a hub, there is an infrastructure, there is even a dry port system where you export and also import essential items. All those trade corridors, in terms of volume of export, in terms of creation of employment, in terms of creating strong financial transactions, in terms of creating a market for our domestic products, it is really progressing very well. Coffee, some of mining, and some of spices, live animals are being exported through some of these trade routes and the trade corridors. So that's a big initiatives. And again, Africa has also that grand plan of connecting Africa through strong trade corridors, all the way from Addis Ababa to Dakar, from Addis Ababa to Johannesburg, and also from Addis Ababa to Cairo, and all the way to the North Africa. That Ethiopia has really moved very fast in terms of that aspirations. But still, our neighboring countries are very slow. But definitely, at some point in time, they will pick it up, and then the ambition of connecting the neighboring countries with a strong trade corridor would be a reality. But the starting through many trade logistics systems, technologies, power is really progressing very well.
And the other one is Ethiopia's involvement in the peacekeeping mission, especially in the Horn of Africa, and how this will influence economy of the country, or how economy of the country will influence this situation or scenario.
One of the platforms on which Ethiopia's name will always be raised and gratified and gets glorified is a peacekeeping mission. Ethiopia has really sacrificed in lives and limbs, shedded bloods in so many African countries, including the Horn of Africa. Our recent experience in Sudan, Darfur areas, during the war between Sudan and the now South Sudan, during the South Sudan conflict, the conflict in Somalia, time and again, even as far as going down to Rwanda, Ethiopia has played a significant role in terms of peacekeeping mission in the region. And for a very fact, there will be no one comparable to Ethiopia in the region in terms of peacekeeping missions. This is playing a significant economic role. In those countries where there is a complete breakdown of peace and stability, trade lines were interrupted, people were displaced, economic assets were dilapidated or destroyed, farms were destroyed, livelihood of a small-scale pastoralists and agriculture-dependent community were destroyed. As soon as Ethiopia gets into a peacekeeping missions, trades were restored, commercial activities were resumed, agricultural activities have begun, and the small-scale livelihood of the smallholder farmers and the pastoralists have started reviving in many countries. That has a huge implication in terms of economy, in terms of reviving and revitalizing input markets and also the product markets. Then along with that goes import and export. You know, when there is a peace in the neighborhood, your export and your import become live and restored. Not only that, but with the peacekeeping mission, there is an image you build in those countries and to the world. So, as we speak today, there are so many investors of Ethiopia that are operating in South Sudan. That went during the peacekeeping mission. And then now they own hotels and manufacturing, several service provision enterprises. The same is true in Rwanda, the same is true in Somalia and elsewhere. So that peacekeeping mission by itself has enabled the economy of the Horn of Africa in the first place to be saved from further destruction, from further deterioration. Then it helped the resumption of so many business, trades, and manufacturing and commercial activities to resume. And then trade relationship with Ethiopia improved. When we are sending troops, we are not only sending troops. The troops consumes so many military items that are manufactured, and then what would you call it, shaped, prepared properly, transported. All this involves buying and selling transaction. So Ethiopia's peacekeeping missions have really enabled to save lives and economic activities, not only in millions of dollars, in trillions of dollars. If proper valuation and the revaluations are done in South Sudan, in Sudan now, are done in Somalia, the billions of dollars are saved and recovered are really huge. That's the economy of the region. That's the economy of the Horn of Africa. That is what is going to serve as a basis for the businesses and for the markets creation in the region.
As Ethiopia has been influencing the Horn of Africa in terms of economy, and maybe others, and there are also the economic giants like United States and China, those who do have an interest, their own interest in the Horn of Africa, in the region, and how this will maybe negatively impact Ethiopia's interest and influence.